And when we first started the show, I really thought we were doing a show about building cars and motorcycles for people. It evolved into a show about people and their story. It really brought challenges in the early days.
There are people who build things, and there are people who burn them down. Danny Koker built Count's Kustoms from nothing. From a small Las Vegas garage where grease-stained hands turned forgotten machines back into something beautiful. He built a television empire around it. He built a brand, a reputation, a family, or what he believed was a family. And for years, the cameras rolled, the fans watched, and the world saw exactly what Danny wanted them to see. What they didn't see was happening just out of frame, because behind every gleaming custom build, behind every laugh and every rev of an engine, something else was happening inside that shop. Something that Danny Koker, a man not easily shaken, would later describe as a series of betrayals he never saw coming. Not from strangers. From the people standing right next to him. This is the story of 5 employees who walked through the doors of Count's Kustoms and left a mark that had nothing to do with chrome or paint. Some stole. Some lied. Some simply broke the unspoken code that holds any team together. And one by one, Danny had to reckon with the fact that fame doesn't just attract talent. It attracts people who want something from you. The question is, how much did it cost him before he finally understood that? Danny Koker did not grow up expecting to be famous. He grew up in Detroit, in the shadow of a city that ran on engines and ambition, raised by a father who played music for a living and loved cars the way some men love religion. That combination, the soul of a musician, the hands of a mechanic, became the blueprint for everything Danny would eventually become. When he landed in Las Vegas in the early 90s, he wasn't chasing cameras. He was chasing something harder to name. A feeling. The particular satisfaction of taking something broken and making it whole. Count's Kustoms started as a personal project. A place for Danny to work on his own collection, to hear an engine come back to life under his hands, to exist in the specific silence that fills a garage late at night when the work is almost done. It was never supposed to be a television show. It was supposed to be his, but Las Vegas has a way of turning private things public. His appearances on Pawn Stars changed everything. Suddenly, millions of people were watching this man with the dark clothes and the unshakable confidence talk about cars the way poets talk about the sea, with reverence, with precision, with a love that felt almost embarrassing in its depth. Producers saw what the audience felt. By 2012, Counting Cars was born, and Count's Kustoms was no longer just a garage. It was a stage. And on any stage, eventually, the wrong people show up. The first name on this list is one most casual fans never encountered on screen. Joseph Frontiera wasn't a builder or a painter or a mechanic. He didn't weld frames or lay down custom airbrushing. He worked with numbers. He was the bookkeeper, the man entrusted with the financial architecture of everything Danny had built. And for a period of time that still makes people in that shop go quiet when his name comes up, Joseph Frontiera used that trust like a tool. He didn't take a little. He took over $75,000. What makes this particular betrayal so difficult to sit with isn't just the amount. It's the method. Joseph didn't grab cash from a register. He engineered it. He used company funds to put a down payment on a Range Rover for himself. He bought airline tickets. He covered personal expenses with money that belonged to the shop, to the crew, to every build that should have been funded by those dollars. And when the numbers started looking strange, when questions started being asked, he did something that crossed a line most people won't cross even in their worst moments. He forged Danny Koker's signature. He created false records. He built a paper wall between himself and the truth and stood behind it for as long as he could. When the wall came down, and it always comes down, Count's Kustoms didn't just file him away as a bad hire. They filed a lawsuit. Against Frontiera and against the staffing agency, Randstad USA, that placed him there without adequate screening. The case became public. The details spread. And somewhere in Las Vegas, the lesson calcified into something permanent inside Danny. The people who never touch the cars can do just as much damage as any blown engine. Joseph Frontiera has not been seen or heard from since. No interviews. No social media. No reappearance. He simply vanished the way people vanish when they know what they've left behind. But financial betrayal, as devastating as it is, at least makes a certain brutal sense. Money is a motive the world understands. What happened with the next name on this list was harder to explain, because it started not with greed, but with personality. With the slow friction that builds between two people who see the world differently and are forced to share the same square footage every day. Scott Jones was there from the beginning. Season 1, Episode 1, standing inside Count's Kustoms with a clipboard and an opinion. As shop manager and numbers man, his job was to be the counterweight to Danny's vision, to say no when the budget was screaming, to pump the brakes when the creative instincts threatened to outrun the financial reality. And Scott did that job. Loudly. Consistently. In ways that made for compelling television but created a tension in the shop that didn't disappear when the cameras stopped rolling. Viewers watched Danny and Scott clash over costs, over build choices, over the fundamental question of whether a business exists to make art or make money. It was real disagreement, and it looked like it. By the end of season 2, Scott was gone. The rumors filled the vacuum immediately. Financial mismanagement. Hidden conflict. A falling out that went deeper than anything shown on screen. And here is where the story takes an unexpected turn, because the truth, according to those who know it, is far simpler and far more human than any of the theories. Scott Jones moved to Tennessee. He wanted to be closer to his family. He made a choice that had nothing to do with drama and everything to do with the part of life that exists entirely off camera. He now runs Koker's Extreme Automotive. He appeared on Netflix's Swap Shop. He kept working with cars. He kept moving forward. Sometimes a departure is just a departure. But sometimes, and this is where Kustoms history gets harder to look at, a departure is the beginning of something much worse. Rolly Sabo made people happy. That was his gift, and it was genuine. The Hungarian accent, the enormous smile, the jokes that arrived at precisely the moment the shop needed them. Rolly was the kind of presence that makes a workplace feel like something more than a workplace. As the lead detailer from seasons 2 through 6, he made every car that passed through his hands look like it was built for a museum. His perfectionism was real. His warmth was real. Fans didn't just watch Rolly. They looked forward to him. Which is exactly why what happened in 2017 landed the way it did. Thousands of dollars worth of professional detailing equipment went missing from Kustoms. The tools of the trade. The instruments Rolly had used to do the work that made him beloved. And when the investigation began, when the threads were pulled, Rolly Sabo was gone. No farewell episode. No explanation offered to the audience that had spent years watching him. One week he was there, dancing around the shop and making everyone laugh. The next, he simply wasn't. The official silence from Kustoms was total. No statement. No confirmation. Just the absence where someone used to be. The fans felt it before they understood it. The way you notice a room is different before you can name what's missing. Rolly is still in Las Vegas. He runs his own business now, Rock and Rolly Custom Detailing. He kept working. He kept his hands on cars. Whatever happened inside that shop, he built something of his own on the other side of it. But the trust he took with him when he left has never fully been reconstructed. Some things, once broken, keep their shape. Then there is Shannon Ika. If Rolly was the heartbeat of the shop, Shannon was its hands. Quiet hands. Precise hands. The kind of hands that can take raw metal and negotiate it into something with genuine soul. As the lead motorcycle builder on Counting Cars, Shannon produced work that made people stop mid-sentence when they saw it. Choppers with weight and intention. Street machines that felt inevitable, like they couldn't have existed any other way. He didn't chase compliments. He didn't need the camera on him. He needed the work, and the work was extraordinary. For several seasons, Shannon Ika was the quiet architecture beneath the show's most spectacular builds. And then, gradually, he began to disappear. Not fired. Not caught. Not gone in the sharp, sudden way that some names on this list departed. Shannon faded. His screen time contracted. His appearances became occasional, then rare. And the reason, pieced together from those who watched it happen, comes down to a conflict that has nothing to do with money or theft or ego in the ordinary sense. It was a conflict about what the show was becoming. As Counting Cars grew in popularity, the production machinery that surrounds any successful reality television series began to apply pressure. More drama. More conflict. More story. The cars were still beautiful, but the framing around them was shifting toward something Shannon couldn't align himself with. He was a craftsman. Not a character. He had built his life and his identity around the integrity of the work itself, and when the show began to ask him to exist within a version of reality that felt constructed, he made the only choice that felt honest. He stepped away. Quietly. Without blame and without announcement. He is still building motorcycles in Las Vegas. His reputation in the custom world is intact. He chose the work over the platform, and there is something in that choice that commands respect even as it explains an absence fans still feel. And finally, there is Mike Henry. Known to the world as Horny Mike, he arrived at Kustoms with a helmet covered in horns and an artistic vision that was genuinely, unmistakably singular. As the lead airbrush artist, his job was to take a finished build and turn it into a statement. Flames that seemed to breathe. Murals with emotional gravity. Work that belonged in galleries but lived on the bodies of machines built for the road. Mike was theatrical in every dimension, the costumes, the energy, the outsized personality that translated perfectly to screen. but beneath all of it was a serious artist who cared about every brushstroke with an intensity that could fill a room. For a time, the partnership was electric. Danny gave him space. Mike filled it. The builds came out extraordinary. The audience loved him. But there is a particular kind of friction that develops when a true artist operates inside a machine built for consistency and deadlines. Mike Henry wanted to push. The show needed him to deliver. Mike wanted to explore. The production needed him to perform. And Danny Koker, running a business and a television brand simultaneously, needed the final product to stay within certain bounds that Mike's instincts kept testing. The clashes were creative, not criminal. There was no theft, no forgery, no silent disappearance in the night. What happened between Mike and Count's Kustoms was slower and more complicated, the gradual misalignment between a man's artistic identity and the industrial requirements of the platform that made him famous. His screen time diminished. His role contracted. He began to exist more on the periphery of episodes than at their center. Today, Mike Henry runs Horny Mike Designs. He creates custom airbrushed helmets and artwork under his own name and his own terms. He still appears at car shows. He still does work for Count's Kustoms on special projects. There is no bad blood declared publicly. There is just a man who discovered, the hard way, that being brilliant inside someone else's vision eventually becomes its own kind of cage. What Danny Koker built at Count's Kustoms was real. The passion was real. The craftsmanship was real. The love for machines that carry history in their frames and stories in their chrome, that was never performance. But the people who moved through that world were complicated, as people always are. Some took what wasn't theirs. Some left because they had to. Some walked away because staying would have cost them something they couldn't afford to lose. And Danny stayed. Through the theft and the lawsuits and the quiet exits and the creative fractures, Danny Koker stayed in that garage. Kept building. Kept showing up. Kept believing that the right combination of people and passion and purpose could produce something worth watching. The shop is still running. The show continued. The cars are still extraordinary. But somewhere in the history of Count's Kustoms, in the spaces between the episodes the audience will never see, are the real stories. The ones that explain not just who left, but what it costs to build something worth leaving. Some people build things. And some people, in the end, teach you exactly how much your thing is worth by showing you what they were willing to take from it.